So thank you very much, all of you, for joining us. My name is Matus. I am a Market Intelligence Manager at Hydrogen Europe. And it's my pleasure to moderate this session that is going to focus on hydrogen valleys and specifically the issue of permitting. The issue of permitting is, we might say, a slightly less sexy one at Hydrogen Europe. As I focus on market intelligence, we spend a lot of time analyzing what's happening in the market, what's slowing down the sort of deployment of clean hydrogen, whether that's lack of regulatory demand because of incomplete transposition of RED III, or it's a lack of infrastructure, or it's how are the projects sort of, whether they're bankable, what is their access to funding, and all kinds of other issues that you already have heard about or you're going to talk about later this afternoon. But permitting is certainly also sort of a large topic that we want to make sure that we mention and then we tackle, because it can affect the project development timelines, and then effectively it can also affect the development costs even before the FID. So there are different challenges all across Europe because every country is different. The permitting processes work differently. In some cases, the permitting authorities might be sort of encountering hydrogen projects for the first time. So again, there are large differences, and there are different solutions for all of these differences. So in today's discussion, we're going to explore all of that. So we're going to focus on the challenges. We're going to try to compare the geographical differences in different countries, and then we're also going to try to leave you with some solutions that you can take home to your specific countries and potentially your permitting authorities. But before we get into the panel and the discussion, we are going to start with a short presentation. So at this point, I would like to welcome to the stage Mr. Konstantinos Chatzifotis, who is a European Affairs Manager at Motor Oil, who is going to present his experience with the TRIERES Hydrogen Valley project in Greece. He's going to cover some of the challenges and sort of how are they sort of dealing with them, and then he will expand on that during the panel, and then we'll follow his presentation with the panel. So the floor is yours.
Good afternoon. I'm very pleased to be here for the third, I think, consecutive year. I think it's the only moderator that has pronounced my name correctly, so congratulations for that. So my name is Konstantinos Chatzifotis. I'm Manager of European Affairs of Motor Oil Group and proud project coordinator of the TRIERES Valley. I represent Motor Oil, who is a company that is recognized as a multi-energy group with global reach. We own the largest private industrial complex in the Balkans with the most modern, flexible, and refining infrastructure. We also have 1,500 fuel stations in 5 countries, and we provide top quality fuels and services to the transport sector: natural gas, LNG, CNG, aviation and marine fuels. And we also are building the fastest electric charging network in the country. We also are the second largest producer of green energy in the country, 830 megawatts in operation, and a pipeline of 2.57 gigawatts in licensing. So we believe that by the end of the decade, we will be operating approximately 2 gigawatts of renewable energy. And then we are also very active in circular economy and alternative fuels. We have bought 3 companies that they are dealing with waste management, waste to energy, and environmental projects. And we also have acquired a company that is the largest collector of used cooking oils in Greece. For 2030, we have one of the most ambitious investment plans in the area in southeastern Europe. We intend to invest 4 billion euros, 2.5 in new infrastructure, and 1.5 for our resilience. 3 main pillars of our activity: fuels, traditional and conventional, and new fuels, clean fuels; electrification, both from natural gas and renewables; and circular economy. Now, regarding the project TRIERES, Motor Oil Hellas has the honor to coordinate a consortium of 26 partners across 5 countries: Greece, Netherlands, Austria, Cyprus, and Egypt. We got an important funding by the Clean Hydrogen Partnership in 2023 of 18 million euros. We are already at the second year of, we complete our second year of operation. We hope that we will conclude our project by April 2028. The project has a target of 2,400 tons of production of renewable hydrogen from a 30 megawatts electrolyzer. This is the project of EFIRA that is also financed by Clean Hydrogen Partnership. And we have a project, we have a goal to make an annual CO2 savings of almost 10,000 tons. Now, what is TRIERES in a nutshell? We want to create different pathways to provide hydrogen to end users. We are building our electrolyzer in our refinery, which is going to be 30 megawatts funded by the Clean Hydrogen Partnership, and it's going to be upscaled to 50 megawatts with support from a Resilience and Recovery Fund. Then we have already acquired 4 tube trailers in order the hydrogen tube trailers to send hydrogen to end users and also to our network of hydrogen refueling stations. And also we have a plan in the future to inject the hydrogen to a future hydrogen national pipeline. We also have horizontal activities. This is the development of a digital twin. We want also to create business models for replication and scalability. And we also try to harmonize we put pressure to our government and local authorities, regional authorities, to harmonize EU regulation with our national framework. So what has been achieved so far? We have an FID for the FIRA electrolyzer, and it's upscaled to 50 megawatts. We have acquired 4 tube trailers, as I said, 3 of them financed by TRIERES. We have put in operation our first hydrogen refueling station. I will speak on that a bit later. And we are in progress with the acquisition, the procurement of 1 hydrogen bus for one of our partners, the operator of buses in Athens, of public buses in Athens. 2 buses, I'm sorry. 1 light-duty vehicle for the municipality of Loutraki, and 1 light-duty vehicle for Olympiados. And we are also looking at a pilot to retrofit a boat in order to use hydrogen for its propulsion. Moreover, we have 2 pilots related to energy production and industry. The port of Piraeus is looking at an installment on infrastructure to produce electricity from hydrogen. And we also want to use green hydrogen in one of our subsidiaries that is doing lubricants regeneration. That's together with the pressure we're putting to the government and the impact that our project has for changes in the legal framework for hydrogen in Greece, and the R&D activity, our digital twin, and we have also made publications already online. And last year we were very proud to get the Hydrogen Valley of the Year award from Clean Hydrogen Partnership. Here you get a picture where we try to show how this valley is being extended, being centered in our refinery and going towards the east to Athens and towards the west to Peloponnese. What I would like to focus on as well is the use of EU funding that we have managed to valorize. This project is being funded by, I think, 6 different funding instruments. Of course, Clean Hydrogen Partnership and Horizon Europe, It's also related with the Innovation Fund. We have secured a large-scale project funding for a CCUS project, 125 million euros. We have also secured, as I said, 112 euros from Resilience and Recovery Fund. We have secured three different grants from Connecting Europe facility to build a network of HRSs. And we have also a loan with the European Investment Bank to support our green hydrogen projects. And also we have taken advantage of some national incentives given for R&D investments. Yes, this is an achievement. Yes, I know. I know, and I have to tell you because I heard before, you know, one complaint I have to make, and it's not the first time I do it, is that we had submitted a proposal in the IPCI of 2021. At the time, we had presented the whole project, and of course, we were not lucky to be, selected. At the time, DigiCom thought that our project was not fulfilling the criteria of IPCI. But that made us, sort of trying harder, and so we applied to, I will say it like that, to whatever we would find in front of us, matching our project, each part of it, and we were successful. But this brings you in sometimes strange situations. We launched our hydrogen refueling station without having hydrogen yet. Of course, we managed to bring hydrogen for the use of the hydrogen refueling station, but this shows that, from your experience, programs have their own pace, funding schemes have their own regulations and time frames, so you have to deliver at a certain point without being able to streamline everything. But anyways, as program, we managed to work together with other European projects like Lhyfe. We brought the hydrogen bus in Athens. A few days ago, we organized a big workshop in Corinth, where we gathered all the relevant, important people for hydrogen in Greece. As I told you, we have ongoing the TRIERES project that is funded by Innovation Fund. And we were really happy to launch the first hydrogen refueling station in Corinth, I'm sorry. This is really a big achievement, a milestone for Greece. It's the first hydrogen refueling station in Greece, in the broader region of, publicly available commercial hydrogen refueling station, because there are smaller units around, in different countries, but not a commercial hydrogen refueling station. It can fuel both light-duty and heavy-duty vehicles. And to be honest, I have worked for the European Commission, the European Parliament for many years. It's the first time that I feel that we deliver something, And I did it through a private company. But nevertheless, this concludes my short presentation. I leave the rest for the discussion about permitting. Thank you very much.
Yeah, excellent. Thank you very much for the presentation. And so then we are going to unpack some of the specifics on what you're developing and how was it impacted by permitting during the panel discussion. But at this point, I would like to invite to the stage our other panelists. So we have a good mix today. So we have Ruczinski, who is a director of public funding at project developer Lhyfe. So please come on stage. And then we also have Dr. Nigel Holmes, who's CEO of Hydrogen Scotland, which is an industry association that provides voice of the Scottish hydrogen industry. And he has also been in the industry for a while, so he'll be able to talk to us about some of the early days of sort of hydrogen development in Scotland in the Orkneys. And as I mentioned, throughout the session, we are going to try to cover the challenges, some of the geographical differences where possible, and then try to focus on the solutions as well, so that we can or you can present them to the authorities. So I would like to start with you, Nigel. So if you want to, you can say a few more words about yourself, about your role. But we do only have about 20 minutes at this point, since we did start a little bit later. So let's try to keep it a little bit briefer. And then if I could ask you if you could a little bit expand on your experience from the big hit, and what have you, or what has the industry learned in Scotland from this project, especially when it relates to permitting?
Thank you, and thank you to the Clean Hydrogen Partnership for the opportunity to be here. So I'm Nigel Holmes. I head up Hydrogen Scotland. We're a trade association, over 200 members, and we focus on activities in Scotland. I was also involved in the Big Hit project. It was the Hydrogen Territories project, which is now seen as being the first of the hydrogen valleys to be established in Europe. And it wasn't without its challenges, and permitting and consenting was something we had to work through. And when you start to think about a green hydrogen project, I would suggest there's probably three things that become really important. One, you need access to that green electricity. Two, you need access to water. And three, you need to basically get the local engagement and people on side if you're going to be putting something in their backyard. Put that all together, and you've got a good chance of getting through planning and actually getting your project moving forward. And we had examples of all of those three where there were challenges that needed to be overcome. And I can go into those in a bit more detail. Also in Scotland, happening about the same time, was the Aberdeen bus project. And that started again from basically very little happening in Aberdeen before they got the support from the Clean Hydrogen Partnership. But then it was a question of establishing the hydrogen refuelling stations, getting the buses on the road, and also getting people familiar and comfortable with using hydrogen buses as a public form of transport. So the themes I'd like to bring out are getting the electricity, getting the water, getting the planning through, and essentially building that relationship with the local community.
Great, thank you. Thank you. And then Alice, we're going to pivot to you. So you're coming from a slightly different perspective because you work for a project developer that is active across the continent in several countries. So just like with Nigel, if you wouldn't mind just introducing yourself a little bit more in terms of what the company does, but then try to focus on what are some of the challenges that your company has encountered as you have been developing hydrogen projects and recently putting them into operation and of different scales. Huh?
Okay, thank you. So I'm Alice Ruczinski. As you said, I'm in charge of public funding, so not an expert in permitting topics. I'm representing today Lhyfe. Lhyfe is a renewable hydrogen producer developing projects in several countries in Europe. We have already 22 megawatt electrolysis capacity installed, so already operating, 33 in construction, and more than 500 megawatt about to be on the ground in advanced stage of development, let's say. So, and this in 5 different European countries, so mainly in Germany, France, Spain, Sweden, and in the Netherlands. So we have a team of project developers working on the permitting topic for our project. It's very crucial to have these teams in the different countries. As we said, the different regulation are the regulation are really different in all the countries for the permitting, and the permitting is really crucial for project development. We all know that it's the main gate at the beginning to come from the early stage development to project execution, and we need those permits to have advanced discussion with funding authority, to have discussions with banks, to have serious discussion with potential off-takers, etc. So permitting, yes, it's one of the first steps. It's not the main challenge we have. This needs to be really, really well planned in the project development. And yes, we encountered several issues about this, mainly at the beginning because the regulation wasn't in place. So we have in France our first 1 megawatt pilot, which was commissioned at the end of 21, so almost 4 years of operation now in this plant, delivering 3 kilo of hydrogen every day to different clients in the area. So we had always in the project development, I was talking about this valley approach. So some of these projects are part of hydrogen valleys, co-funded by the Clean Hydrogen Partnership. We are coordinator of one advanced stage 2 valley in the Western France. participating also as a core partner in Hydrogen Valley in the north of Italy, Ticino, participating also as partner in several large-scale hydrogen valley, so in the Baltic Sea Valley, in the Imagine Valley in the region Auvergne-Rhône-Alpes in France, and also newly in the Castilla y León Hydrogen Valley in Spain. So this valley approach is super important, and on the permitting side is also a way to have this knowledge sharing experience with all the partners participating, because the permitting challenges are really, it's a very broad topic because the challenges are different for the production, for the distribution. So all the partners that are acting in a valley really need to share experience and knowledge about this. And we all need to work together to have simplest regulation and fastest process to allow the projects, yes, to be developed faster.
Mm-hmm. Sure, thank you. No, that makes complete sense. Of course, if you're only doing production, then the permitting process is very different than compared to if you have a very large off-taker on site, you're producing aviation fuels on site or something along those lines. Just to quickly follow up on that, do you feel like that there is a very large difference between small-scale and large-scale projects in terms of permitting? So when you're developing a 5 to 10 megawatt project or one, based on your experiences, versus a, let's say, 100 megawatt one, which you are also developing in some of the other countries?
Yes, for sure, the challenges are really, really different, and discussions with the different permitting authorities are really not the same.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and the regulation is not the same.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. And then Konstantinos, so to get back to you, so thank you for the presentation in terms of the progress of how the TRIERES Valley is developing. So we'll just sort of, would you mind outlining some of the, let's say, the current permitting framework, how you approached it, what were some of the challenges in Greece, and then you can also sort of begin mentioning how you started to address them.
I have asked from my colleagues that we work together in the Motor Oil and the TRIERES project to write me down what are the different administrative levels and organizations involved in permitting. So we have the Ministries of Energy, the Ministry of Infrastructure and Transport, the Ministry of Development, the Ministry of Shipping. We have the Regulatory Authority for Waste, Energy and Water, the Decentralized Administration of Peloponnese. Local municipalities issue land use, construction, operating permits. For transport and hydrogen logistics, again, the Regulatory Authority for Waste, Energy and Water, and the Ministry of Energy and Transport. And you understand, with all these, you have to have a really good understanding of how to develop a project. We do so as a refinery because in the past we have taken a lot of permitting and licensing to operate, and this is one of the advantages of building or centering a valley around a refinery. On the other hand, what we have seen is that you need to go in a case-by-case approach. If it wasn't the valley, if it wasn't our initiatives, I think that Greece would not have any kind of legislation specific for hydrogen. What we have managed so far is, because we wanted to build the hydrogen refueling station, to put pressure on the government to issue at least the technical requirements to build an HRS, and this came with a ministerial decree. And then we also wanted to be able to, to operate legally, and hydrogen was included in the list among the fuels that can be sold in hydrogen refueling stations. And now we are let's say, we are progressing, because due to the fact that we received funding from the RRF, the state has the obligation to present a milestone that is the regulatory framework for hydrogen. And I think tomorrow the draft law is going to the Parliament to be discussed and be voted. The draft law makes a lot of improvement. It gives 2 years timeline for licensing to be taken. It also addresses the issue of to give a first license for producers. Still, it will need improvements, but what I want to leave as a message, and this is a reality, is that without these projects, without a TRIERES project, without a FIRA project, this would not have been made.
Just a quick follow-up. When you were getting the different funding sources, of course you had to have project timelines. So do you know how late were you, let's say, because of permitting? So what was actually in the project timeline versus reality, because you are, let's call it, the first mover in Greece?
Yeah. I mean, when we started building the hydrogen refueling station, there was no technical requirements, and we were at great risk because we had, to go by the Gantt chart of our project. Yeah. We had to deliver in the month 8 the procurement of the installation of all the infrastructure. And at the same time, we didn't know if we would comply with what would come afterwards. And of course, this was a great risk for us. And it was the reason to put pressure. And the very interesting thing is that it is the same state that has given his green light, to get this funding, because it's through Connecting Europe facility, through the cohesion envelope, and the state has to also give its approval. So we're putting pressure to the state to do what was obliged to do anyways. But indeed, there's risk. I mean, you don't know when you will result. Again, now for the construction of our electrolyzer in the premises of our refinery, we are lucky enough because there are certain licenses there and permitting issued, but still we have to wait for the Ministry of Energy to make the adjustment that needs to be, to have green hydrogen producing included in our permitting. And this is going to take time, but hopefully, because it's again the same ministry that gives its approval for the RRF funding, we hope that there will be some internal streamline.
Okay. Yeah, indeed. So as a first mover, you encounter a lot of issues, but also fortunately for you, you have Motor Oil is a very large company with a lot of influence. So also that opens certain doors, and given that you're also...
just a quick comment on that. It's not because of Motor Oil. If Motor Oil would go alone, this would be on another level discussion with the state. This is because this is going through a European project, because we have like a large consortium that they all they ask for it. Exactly. Okay, so I really believe in the impact that the valleys have in this sense.
Okay, excellent, thank you. Nigel, I would like to come back to you. And so, do you feel like the projects that are being developed now, let's say on the electrolytic side, that there is a real difference compared to 2016, 17, 18 from the Big Hit project? And also what I would like to ask about, sort of as an additional question, as a follow-up, is the difference between, let's say, small-scale, let's say, electrolytic projects, and then the potential reforming with carbon capture projects, because Scotland has received, recently there was quite a lot of money allocated for CO2 infrastructure. I think it was the Acorn CO2 infrastructure. So do you have experience also with that? Because I'm sure that you have members who are also want to develop hydrogen production via reforming with carbon capture.
Yes, so thank you. So to start with the first question, what's different from when we did Big Hit to what's happening now? Big Hit had 2 electrolyzers, 1.5 megawatt, the other 1 megawatt. 0.5 megawatt linked to tidal turbines, the 1 megawatt linked to wind turbines. And in Orkney, we actually had, and I think this is a really important part of the Hydrogen Valley project, we had the local authority, Orkney Islands Council, as a key partner in that project. We had the European Marine Energy Centre, who had the tidal turbines as a partner. We had Shappensay Development Trust, who owned the wind turbines, as a partner. And we had Community Energy Scotland. So there was a strong representation, local representation. And as a demonstration project, it was actually much easier to go out and sell what was happening. It was innovative. People could see that it would actually help Orkney. Orkney had got to a point where it was producing more renewable electricity than the actual grid could take. So they're having to turn off turbines. They're having to stop producing that renewable energy. So it was a solution to a problem. And the Orkney Islands Council, it wasn't being driven by the sustainability team, it's being driven by the economic development team, because they could see the benefit for Orkney and the potential for jobs to transition into this new area. And Aberdeen, very, very similar. Aberdeen, the Hydrogen Bus project, Aberdeen City Council was a key partner. There's 3 people in the room who are actually involved in that project at the very start. So there's some continuity that we have with some of the early projects, again, thanks to Clean Hydrogen Partnership funding. What is different now is that the projects are bigger, they're more commercial. You're having to think about a bigger power supply, so you may not be actually producing the electricity locally, you may be taking it in by PPA, or taking it directly off a wind farm. The water supply, rather than just being able to connect up to the local water network, you may have to think about your specific abstraction. So the recent application for a 3 gigawatt green hydrogen production unit, it was having to take it directly out of a local river. And then you have questions from the neighborhood saying, are you going to make the river run dry? Are the fish going to basically not be able to survive? These are all questions you need to think about, and it's different when you're doing it at small scale, very different to when you're doing it at large scale. But there's a lot of the planning processes are very similar. There are some thresholds where if you go over a certain quantity of hydrogen storage, we've got to go up to Seveso directives, all the things that come with that. But fundamentally, the process you've got to go through to engage with the local population, to actually get them aware of what you're doing, is very, very similar. And in Scotland, we were seeing some quite significant delays with getting through the planning process with these projects. And one of the reasons is that in Scotland, there are 32 local authorities. Each local authority had its own planning team. Each planning team was already overworked. And if you put something on their desk that they hadn't seen before, they would rather sort out 26 loft extensions or 50 sheds in the garden than do one hydrogen project. It was much easier to do. So
it's not only Greece then.
Yeah.
So what the Scottish Government did, and the Scottish Government has an ambition of 5 gigawatts of low-carbon hydrogen production by 2030, so they've got some skin in the game. They set up a national planning hub, which would actually support the individual local authorities. So it could actually then take in these specialist planning applications, provide that additional support, help to move them through the system. And this was all done in partnership with the local authorities. Okay. So, challenges, but also solutions.
Okay, excellent, thank you. And Alice, on your side, I also wanted to ask in terms of what are some of the solutions and lessons learned, let's say, maybe from some of your colleagues on the permitting side, and also what Konstantinos said, do certain, let's say, public instruments or being awarded specific projects, in your case, has that helped with the public authorities?
Yeah, so I totally align with what you just said, Nigel, because it's really different from the first project we developed. So the 1 megawatt electrolyzer we first commissioned in 21, and now in 25 when we commissioned 2 5 megawatt plants in France last year. And the context is totally different. So yes, things are changing. We have a green acceleration law that has been adopted last year in France. And this is really important to share this kind of legislation, because the aim is really to ease the permitting processes for renewable hydrogen projects, low carbon hydrogen projects in France, as you know, and to have a very streamlined process, accelerated process with one single contact point for all the different permits and authorization you need to have to develop your plant and then to operate it. Also acceleration zone, so all the local authorities can decide to have plots dedicated to sustainable hydrogen production, for example, and facilitate the development of such projects on their land. Mm-hmm. And also, yes, acceleration of permitting. And for example, yes, for the 5 megawatt plant we have in southern France, in the Occitania region, we benefit from this new procedure, accelerated procedure. And this is good because we spent, yes, a lot of time with local authority for our first project and with permitting authority to explain and because when you are the first one to do something, no one understands what you want to do, and you need to explain a lot and have, yeah.
Okay, no, excellent, thank you. And so, since we started late, but we're trying to catch up a little bit on time, so we're slowly running out of time. But what I would like to do, I'm going to try to conclude with some of the things that you mentioned, and then you're going to try to complement me with all the things that I have certainly forgotten. So far what we've mentioned is start early, partnerships, whether that means with local authorities, but also in terms of engagement. Then public funding helps, especially EU funding, what you mentioned, and it creates creates a certain incentive or imperative to potentially be faster for the public authorities. A national planning hub, adapting the legislation or creating new one where it doesn't exist, a single point of contact, and acceleration zones that are sort of specifically designed for faster permitting. So what did I forget, or what would you like to add? We have about 2 or 3 more minutes, max.
I just want to connect it with the discussion that I heard before. And this was a very valid point that although you have funding and important funding, at the end you see that the FIDs are not taken. And the reason is that you may spend 5 years to get like licenses, permitting, etc., etc. Once you have these solutions of one-stop shop, a national hub, that things can be accelerated, the companies that, they plan something in 2020, they manage to do it like to deliver in 2 years. If it takes them 5 years, and you have in the meantime COVID, invasion of Russia to Ukraine, the crisis in the Middle East, things change. And this is, these are not R&D projects. They are real-life projects. So companies like ours are taking into consideration all the changes and all the factors. So if we have fast licensing and permitting procedures, this really helps to move forward timely.
So I mentioned one example of overcoming a barrier. I'd like to sort of think on how we might start to share its experience better and why it's important. So last summer, in August, there was actually 3 consultations for new hydrogen projects that went out to public events. And what was striking was that the 3 issues that came up for every event were first, safety, second, water, and third, other environmental considerations. So it could be noise, it could be trucks on the road, it could be related to water. It was actually PFAS getting into water supplies. Sure. And I mention this because I think this will happen everywhere. I don't think if you do a project in France, you probably get a similar feedback from people. These will be areas of concern. And these days, people go and look at social media to actually get, what does PFAS do, from electrolyzers? Why is hydrogen dangerous? We need to think about how we can use good examples of hydrogen and applications and projects that are already happening that provide that comfort that this is actually something that can be done, it needs to be done. And that sharing of information, I think, would help us to all move forward.
Thank you. So yeah, public engagement and then sharing the information and as early as possible. And then Alice, to close us off.
Yeah, so I will go the same way. I think that we need to align planning strategy at European level, national level, regional level, also to ease things for project developers. Because what we are all facing, I think, building these first hydrogen valleys, is that we are solving many problems in many different areas. And when you are developing such projects in areas where there is a strong local support at regional level, at national level, it's really easier, really easier. And as we are talking about the future integrated hydrogen infrastructure, we talked a lot about small-scale valleys, large-scale valleys, starting the first projects, but we are also starting this planning of hydrogen infrastructure, large-scale production, storage, transport at European level. And it's very important to take this into account, that this planning is being done, and it's very important to streamline the permitting processes and so on, to ease and to accelerate this, because everyone is saying that the targets we put on hydrogen production were too ambitious at the beginning. Yes, it was very ambitious, but we need to help people willing to develop this project to do it rapidly, because if we slow down everything because we are not aligning the planning we have and the laws, I think that we have a very good setup in this Clean Hydrogen Partnership to share ideas and to have this also to lobby, to align good ideas that are developed in some countries and to have them implemented in others, also to accelerate things. Yeah.
That was perfect ending as permitting as a lever to actually achieve the regulatory demand or the RED III production targets. So we have unfortunately ran out of time. So with this, I would like to kindly ask you to thank our panelists for their contributions. And again, they'll be around, so if you have any questions, I'm sure they will be more than happy to answer them. And now I'm going to, now we're done, so I'm going to hand the microphone to Mirela.